All right, turn 3, and this turn brings in American reinforcements, and it creates what I think is an interesting situation. So let me zoom back out here and remind us. So the East Germans are trying to come from the south and the east and take this bridge, and this bridge, because a bunch of the other bridges are blown. And the Americans had, to begin with, not the strongest forces on defense. And so as the Americans, I decided that I would set this infantry force up back here, trying to slow the Soviets down, basically giving up this bridge here in hopes of keeping them from taking the other two. And so the Soviets, or not, I keep saying Soviets, the East Germans decided they would split their force. They have an infantry force and an armor force, and they would send the tanks this way fast and try to get to this bridge right away, and then follow up down here with the infantry and try to sort of do a pincher move of sorts. Well, even though the East Germans have a designated formation card, so they get to activate twice in a turn, they didn't get here before the American reinforcements are set to enter. So these are the American reinforcements. It's a bunch of mounted infantry and Bradleys with some anti-tank missile teams. And the Americans get to enter from anywhere on the north edge of the map. And so any playable hex on the north edge of map 2 or 3. So here I've got the East German tanks storming down here trying to capture this bridge, and they're just kind of out in the open. And the Americans, when they enter, they can just come right in here. So their infantry, so they could basically send their infantry in to assault some of the East German tanks, and infantry have a big advantage when they're assaulting armor that is alone in a hex. The thing is, if the Americans activate first and come right in and do that, they're subject to opportunity fire all along the way. And East Germany does have quite a number of tanks here, so at close range they could chew them up pretty good. The Americans could also decide, if they come in first, to try to come in this way and infiltrate into the town and try to guard this bridge. And that would probably be a little safer for them. But it would also put them out here in the open, not give them a lot of defensive terrain. They could, in fact, decide that they want to, let's see where these maps begin and end. So here is map 2. The Americans could even come in way back here and sort of sneak up on the East Germans from behind. So a lot of it really depends on who activates first. But for the East Germans, if their armor formation activates first, they have to be cognizant of the fact that they are going to be potentially facing an ambush from a pretty large American force with a lot of significant anti-tank capability. The Bradleys have the tow missiles, which are pretty lethal, and their infantry are carrying dragons and tows. And so the East Germans could theoretically try to blast into the city and set up in really good defensive terrain, except when infantry assaults armor in a city, they get even more bonus. So that doesn't work. So the East Germans might have to decide, are we going to pass on our activation and maintain our ability to do some opportunity fire, except the Americans have 2 operations cards and the East Germans don't necessarily. And of course, one of the wonders of this game is that none of these formations could potentially activate. It could be that the Americans don't make it in this turn. It could be that the East Germans don't get to activate this armored formation, and we're back here again. But one thing seems certain: if the Americans do come in, if the American reinforcements come in, if nothing else, we're going to have some actual opportunity to use the solo system cards. And in fact, the solo system does tell some about how to proceed if the units are off map. It does have solo instructions for that. So it'll be interesting to try to work through that. So that's a lot of talking, and let's see who is going to be coming in first. Also notice that the East German infantry, just a reminder, did not activate last turn, so they will definitely activate this turn no matter what. But they won't have any action, I don't think. And so that is the American outfit that is set up defending this ridge. Now, the fact that they might have reinforcements coming in could cause them to want to do something different than what they're doing, but I don't think it does. I think that as NATO, I'm going to just go ahead. They don't have line of sight anywhere because of obstructing terrain, so there's no point in drawing a card and seeing what they should do. The solo system doesn't dictate everything you do as a player. You still make what you think are your best decisions, and then for the overall thrust of the unit. So I'm going to leave the Americans right where they are, and I'm going to see who comes next. And it is the East German tank formation. And so now I have to decide what is the best thing for me to do with these units. I could leave a couple of them where they are to serve as overwatch. Let's do a command check here, see if I can consider moving the headquarters unit. I could move the headquarters back to here. You redeploy the headquarters at this phase, right? And all the units would still be in command, and that would allow me to leave units a little farther back. So, yeah, to be honest, I really need to think a little bit about what I want to do here. So I'm going to just pause the video and come back when I've made a decision.